Well, today I would like to go deeper into some of the concepts that we have been dealing with when reading Chapter 2 from the grammar book by Selsen-Mursi and Larsen Freeman. In the second chapter, which refers to grammatical meta-language, she introduces lots of new terminology and concepts. And I told some of you not to worry too much, because in fact, she deals with almost all the notions we have to study, learn in Grammar 1 and 2. So, let's have a look at some of the questions included in this grammar book. Ouch. She uses this second chapter to introduce grammatical meta-language. So that is an important word, meta-language, which I hope you will upload in our glossary. What is meta-language? Well, meta-language is the word used to refer to language used to talk about language. In order to introduce and discuss this terminology, this specific terminology, this meta-language, the authors resort to three axes or three groups, let's say. They group the words into three classes. Those that belong into the subsentential level, those that belong into the sentential, and last, the ones in the suprasentential level. Here, you can, of course, profit from your knowledge of morphology. You know, of course, sentential seems to be somehow, connected to the word, to the noun sentence, okay? And sub, you probably know, is a prefix. It's a prefix that means under, okay? We have sentential and then we have suprasentential. Supra, you probably know, again, is a well-known prefix. It means that you go above the sentence, beyond, if you want, the sentence. So you see how morphology helps in everyday life. What does it mean that they belong into these groups? Now we'll see. When they talk about the subsentential level, the authors refer to the different parts of speech or word classes in English. And they refer to the three criteria used to classify words into the different parts of speech. By now, you all know that these three criteria are the semantic or notional criteria, related to basically to meaning. It is our, we tend to say that the adjective is a description, describes something, okay? Then we know that it's not always that way. The structural or morphological, that is connected to the formation of the word. And last, the functional, or I'll move the camera, or syntactic criteria, which is related with the behavior of the word within, connected to neighbors, I would say. To neighbors. What comes before? What comes after? Then she talks about the sentential level. That is, this is grammar that we can only see if we take a look at the whole sentence. Let me show you what we mean then by we see grammar operating at the sentential level. Imagine I asked you, okay? Well, see if you can answer my question. Can say, what about Susan? Look at this word. Is Susan a noun? You're nodding your heads. Yes, Susan is a noun. Some of you, those who have studied more, probably know it is a proper noun, not a common noun. Now, you see, you just have a word and you can classify this word within the part of speech noun. Now, imagine, could I ask you, is Susan a subject? What do you think? Think it over. Is Susan a subject? Okay, yes. The right answer is, I don't know. Why don't you know? Because we cannot decide if Susan is a subject unless we have the environment, let's say, the context of the whole sentence. Imagine now I say that I love Susan, and now I ask you again, is Susan a subject? And of course you could say, no, it's not. You probably know, even if we haven't started dealing with syntax, that the subject within this sentence is not Susan, but I, the pronoun, the subjective pronoun. Remember the classification of pronouns, I. So Susan is a direct object. But the only way to know is if we have the whole sentence, because this is a concept that belongs to the sentential level. Now we move on, we go back to the sentential level, and within the sentential level, the authors talk about the classification of sentences into simple, compound, complex, and compound-complex, the combination of both. A simple sentence, then we are going, I'm planning to go to give you a mini lesson in this. This classification, which depends on the number and of clauses and the relationship among them. And well, within the sentential level, of course, we also have, as in my example, grammatical functions. Grammatical functions, which here I wrote subject, direct object, indirect object, objective complement, subjective complement, and adverbial adjunct. Let's move on to the last level, suprasentential level. Okay, you go beyond the sentence. Now, let me find my blackboard now. If now I wrote in my blackboard this, if you had I love Susan, remember our old Susan well, and I say, I love Susan, she's amazing. Do you know who she refers to? Do you know? You're right. It refers to Susan. How do you know? Well, is it enough? Imagine you only had, she's amazing. All right? And I ask you, who is she? Well, I don't know. Because you need more than one sentence. You have to go beyond. You need the previous sentence in this particular case. I love Susan. She's amazing. And that's why, do you know what this is? This is an instance of reference. And so if we go back to our presentation, you will see here that cohesion belongs into the suprasentential level. It means it is grammar operating beyond the sentence. Well, you have words of grammatical cohesion and lexical cohesion. Here I'm concentrated on grammatical cohesion. My example was an example of reference, but we could also have ellipsis, substitution, and conjunction. The other examples in the chapter have to do with backgrounding and foregrounding, basically connected to the use of tenses for a main storyline or to provide background information, for a setting in time or place. And then register, which is connected to formality, and genre, which is basically connected to variation, linguistic variation in relation to communicative purpose. This is, for example, genre. We could say academic writing or a letter of application. All right. Well, I hope this has helped you understand a little bit better what the authors mean when they classify or they organize all this new vocabulary, all this new jargon and meta-language into 3 levels. These are the levels at which you see grammar at work. Immediately after the video, I'll post a short quiz just for you to make sure you understand the main points in this mini lesson. Thanks for listening.